All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to what is technically the beginning of week 3 in orientation, but we're still wrapping up week 2 because we had Monday off. Tonight, we're going to be talking a little bit about what you can expect out of a typical week here at Escoffier. We also have Chef Monique, who's with us for all of our live sessions. She's a former student, an Escoffier graduate, so she'll be able to give you sort of firsthand experience of some tips and tricks and some strategies to help you succeed when you get started. But let me introduce myself. I didn't get a chance to meet you guys last week like I normally would. I'm Chef Ryan Hodris. I'm sort of in charge of orientation here at Escoffier. It's chances are you've seen me on the class page. If you haven't, definitely take some time to check out the class page. And if you haven't had a chance to already check out the practice assignment that's also available on the orientation class page, it really is one of those things that if you learn nothing else in orientation, how to submit assignments is going to be very key. It's sort of like the silly analogy that I always use is you can bake the most beautiful wedding cake in the world. If you can't deliver it to the wedding, no one's going to pay you. And that's what we do here in orientation. We deliver the wedding cake. We turn the assignment in. So give that practice assignment a try. I'm going to go ahead and dive into my presentation. Just so you're aware, my presentation style, I'm like a freight train. I just keep rolling forward. So if you do have questions, raise your hand in order to get my attention. You could raise your hand electronically, which is the best way to get my attention. The way that you do that, if you have the most updated version of Zoom, there is a raised hand function under the reactions button. If you're using an older version of Zoom, the raised hand button is under participants. So if you want to hunt around and find that button, that's going to be the best way to get my attention while you're here. There's a fair amount of us here, so if everybody starts unmuting to ask questions, it turns into chaos very quickly. So that's why we do it that way. But let me go ahead and dive in. Got to share my screen. Where's my button? There we are. All right. So stuff that we're going to cover today. Basically, we're going to. The hope is that you're going to come away from today with a good idea of what a typical week will be like as an Escoffier student. We're going to talk about when the week starts. We're going to talk about assignments that we're going to have, how many assignments we'll have. We're going to talk tips and tricks, stuff you can do in order to be successful. And then we're going to talk about live sessions, what you can expect from live sessions when you get started. So for somebody saying made my own wedding cake, no, I didn't do that. It's this one. This one was actually a project from way back in the day when I was a pastry student at Escoffier Ground. We got to pick our own theme, and I'm a video game guy, so I talked us into a video game cake. This is actually a cake that I made for a birthday last week. I was really happy with the way that came out. It's a s'mores cake because it's marshmallow buttercream. But so typical week. Let's talk about what a typical week is going to look like. Officially, our academic week begins on a Wednesday and ends on a Tuesday. But in my experience, successful students take Monday and Tuesday before a week starts to preview the material, to look at some of the readings, to review the recipes, to find out if there's anything in the recipe that you might be allergic to or that you might have a dietary restriction about. So you could reach out to the chef instructor early and let them know. That way they'll be able to offer you some kind of an alternative. That Monday preview is important for some other reasons, but we're going to talk about that once we get to the end of the week. Wednesday is the official first day of the week. That's going to be when your first live session happens. As pastry students, your first live session is always going to be on Wednesday for your first class. It should be at 5:30, but don't quote me on that time quite yet because I don't want to steer anyone astray. As soon as we have a more official time, I'm going to let you know. But typically speaking, they're going to be at 5:30 p.m. Central. Now, that's an interesting thing for anybody who's brand new to Escoffier because all of our times are listed in Central. So if you're on the East Coast, if you're in Mountain or on the West Coast, the times will vary. If you're like me and you don't like doing on-the-fly math in your head, time zone math, I call it. I actually live in Florida, so I've been doing time zone math in this job for a long time. I just wound up getting a clock that I have set to Central Time all the time. So when I'm at work, this is the clock. It sits right here by my desk. That's the clock I look at when I'm at work. That way I always know what time is Central. That's my recommendation. Just makes life easier. That way you're not adding and subtracting hours all the time in your head. You go cross-eyed thinking about that kind of thing. But when we're talking about scheduling for success, so our class week begins on a Wednesday, ends on a Tuesday. Assignments are due 11:59 p.m. Central, but that is the latest you can turn your work in, not the time you turn your work in. And the way I say that is basically, when you turn your work in can be at any time of the week you could turn your work in. My recommendation is to set yourself a deadline that's earlier in the week. We're going to talk about that here in just a little bit. For live sessions, like we were talking about a little bit before class started, if you can't make a live session for whatever reason, we do record all of our sessions, and they are the sort of thing that you can review after the fact. So if you have work, if an emergency comes up, if I don't want to make up any scenarios because then I'll jinx you and then they'll wind up happening. But if something happens and you can't make it to a live session, that's fine. Review the archive so that you're familiar with all the material that's going to be going on during the week. We try to keep our schedule as flexible as we can be for you folks because we know how busy you all are. That's what the archive is for. If you can't make a live session, check out the archive. So what are live sessions going to be like? They're going to be 2 per week. Like I said, the one is always going to be on Wednesday. The other one can vary depending on the class. Sometimes they're on Mondays, sometimes they're on Thursdays. I don't want to tell you a specific day because then I'll wind up being wrong, and I don't want to sort of like set you guys up for failure. But there will be 2 per week. They will be 30 to 45 minutes long a piece. These are where everything for a given week is discussed. So they're going to talk about all of your assignments. They're going to talk about the readings. They're going to talk about any knowledge checks or discussion forums that you have to take part in. This is the time to ask your chef questions. You know what I mean? So it really is one of those things that, as much as you can, if you can make it to a live session, students are most successful when they can attend the live sessions. But students can also be successful watching the archive. One habit that I've seen with students who watch the archives and are successful is as they're watching the archives, they'll sit with sort of like a notepad at the ready as they're watching the video and write down any questions that they have while they're watching the archive. The reason for that being, you can have a question in the first 5 minutes and forget it by the time you get to the end. If you're writing them down as they happen, as soon as the video ends, you open up your email, you email all of your questions to your chef instructor, you get them answered early in the week. Then you can start your week off strong, knowing exactly what's expected of you and what you should be doing in order to complete your assignments. So that's going to be one of the big things is if you're watching the archives, your chef instructor is not cut off from you. Reach out and ask questions. That's really one of the cornerstones of being a student here is reaching out to your chef instructors so that you can get your questions answered and you can move forward into your assignments with certainty. What assignments are we going to have? So we call them knowledge checks. They're basically quizzes. The way that the quizzes work, you'll be answering questions that are pulled from the weekly readings. Highly recommend that you put a lot of effort into the quizzes because the questions for the final that take place at the end of the class are all pulled from the quizzes. So the more you know from the quizzes, the better you'll do on the final. And normally they're like I said, they're going to cover stuff that you talk about in the live sessions. They're going to talk about stuff that you've reviewed in the readings. There's also going to be discussion forums that we want you to participate in. Discussion forums will not be happening every week. When they are happening, your chef instructor will talk about the prompts and things in the live session. Generally speaking, you'll be talking about anything from do a little bit of research and talk about a health code violation that you've seen in the news to what would your ideal pie be if you could design a pie from the ground up? Why would you like that? So we discuss all manner of topics in the discussion forums, some more fun, some like the health code violations less fun. But it is one of those things where we want you guys to be able to get to know each other in sort of like a discussion-based format. And this being an online class, that's the best way to make that happen. So I've been an online student. The discussion forums aren't normally my favorite part. Here, we try to have as much fun in the discussion forums as we can. So it's put as much effort into that as you can. We also have the practical assignments, which for your first class, which is going to be PA 103, your practical assignments are going to be in the kitchen, doing work, turning in an assignment. And so I actually asked Chef Rachel to provide sort of like an example of what that's going to look like. So let me go ahead and dig up the example that she gave me. No, that's not the right one. Come on, Chef Ryan, click on the right link here. There we go. So basically the way that your assignments are going to work, they're going to look something like this, where you're going to be giving us a series of still photos that document the technique that's being demonstrated for the week. So in this case, Chef Rachel is doing the creaming method. You start off with a self-ID photo, which is just you in your uniform, showing that you're set up and ready to work as a professional in the industry. Then we're also going to have a sanitation photo, which is a picture of your sanitizer solution that's been tested with the strips that we're going to send you. If you're like, wait a minute, I don't know how to do that, I don't know how to mix sanitizer, don't worry, your chef instructors are going to cover all this on your first day. So don't feel like you need to go in as an expert. All of this will be explained. I'm just trying to give you an idea what these assignments are going to look like. Then you're going to do a mise en place photo. Every week there's going to be a mise en place photo. So, you know, that's just all of your ingredients pre-measured and ready to go. And then the rest of your photos are going to cover the technique from the very beginning to the finished product. So you can see that, you know, we're working our way through making, you know, a creaming method cookie. Chef Rachel wound up doing it sort of like as a big flat cookie. And then you're always going to wind up giving us sort of like a side on broken in half or cut in half view of your product so that we can see on the inside. You know, when I have my cookies here, these cookies could be made out of styrofoam for all you guys know. You got to cut them in half in order to be able to see to the inside in order to see how everything really turned out. You know what I mean? They're not made out of styrofoam, I promise. I ate that whole plate of cookies. But so yeah, that's basically how an assignment is going to look. There's also a narrative that you're not seeing in this folder right now. If you're curious about what the production sheet, it's called a production sheet now. If you're curious what the production sheet looks like, there's an example of one in the practice assignment on the orientation class page. So check that out. If you've done your practice assignment already, go back and take another look. You will become familiar with, you know, the production sheet as you work your way through the program. Tamika, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did. I wanted to ask a question real quick about the sanitation.
Okay.
We need the red sanitizer bucket, or do you guys okay with us just using a spray bottle?
It's, in my experience, the red Sandy bucket hasn't been a requirement. Your chef instructors will cover their specific requirements when you get started. I can almost guarantee that you won't need a Sandy bucket and that a spray bottle will work, but I don't want to tell you 100% hard yes and then be wrong. But in my experience, almost every chef, like any bucket will work. You know, the red Sandy bucket is convenient, but it's not required.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. All right. So there's once you get through your first 6 weeks of class, there is another branch of our curriculum that's sort of like our core business curriculum. That's going to be more on the academic side of the house. So learning about everything from getting hired to hiring to food pricing to running a business, all of that gets covered in the core business side of the curriculum. That's where we're talking about here. We're talking about written work. There's also, like I said, the production sheet that's going to be a little bit on the written side of the house. Yeah, so you're going to have practical classes. You're also going to have more business related classes. So you wind up learning both sides of the industry. Habits of highly successful students. So I'm actually going to stop the share and pass the baton off to Chef Monique. Chef Monique, like I said, is a graduate of our program. So I wanted to let her jump on and talk a little bit about strategies that you could use in order to be successful. Go ahead, Chef Monique.
Okay, my first strategy and advice is have fun. The second thing is to take criticism, which Chef Ryan can agree with that. You're going to have to take criticism. It doesn't mean that you did it wrong. It doesn't mean that you're terrible. It just means that maybe you needed to do a little bit more or another way to do it. But we are not here to be mean to anyone at all. We are here to help you. We want you to be chefs with us just as much as you want to be a chef. Also make friends with your classmates. Y'all going to be together for a long time. So make friends. Talk about your assignments. Maybe they know how to do something that you don't know how to do, and y'all can work together. Again, just have fun. That's my advice. That's it.
Yeah, and it's like Chef Monique was saying, it's because you're an online student, it can be easy to fall into an attitude of like, I'm working in a vacuum. You know what I mean? It's my kitchen and I'm doing everything solo. As much as we can, we don't do things that way here at Escoffier. So if you have questions, reach out to your chef instructor. If you're having technical issues, someone earlier in class was having trouble connecting their audio, reach out to our tech support team. that's actually, well, let me go ahead and share my screen because that's the part of what I have on this slide. Things to avoid saying. Oh, I don't want to be a bother. Delete that from your memory. You're never a bother. If you have questions about anything, reach out to us. There's a solution to darn near anything that can happen to you as a student. We've been doing this for a long time, so we have a lot of solutions just lined up and ready to go. But we can't help if we don't know there's a problem. So if you're having issues of any kind, let us know and we can help. You're never a bother. Other things that I recommend you sort of delete from your vocabulary. Oh, I've got plenty of time. In the kitchen, if you start saying things like, "Oh, I've got plenty of time," that's when the gremlins come out of the walls to destroy everything. You know what I mean? So it really is one of those things that start early. The earlier you can start, the better, and that's where we start talking about the strategy of using soft deadlines. Like we discussed earlier, the hard deadline for turning your work in is Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. Central. Set yourself a soft deadline. If I were a student here, my soft deadline would be Saturday at like 8 p.m., where you turn your assignment in, you're good to go, everything's finished. Then you can take Sunday off and you can review next week on Monday and Tuesday. I don't know your schedule, so if you're busy on Saturday, if you're working on Saturday, obviously that wouldn't work, but set yourself that soft deadline. It's an effective strategy here as a student. It's also an effective strategy out in the industry, where if I'm trying to get a wedding cake out the door by Tuesday, it better be ready Monday night. You know what I mean? I want to make sure that it's done and finished. So it really is one of those things where soft deadlines will work in this industry no matter where you are. So get used to using them now. We already talked about this, but attend the live sessions or watch the archives. Cannot emphasize how important that is to your time here. Other stuff to delete from your from your vocabulary. That's too hard. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that. Every chef has said that to themselves at some point or another, myself included. Oh, I don't think I'll be able to make a souffle. Oh, I don't think I'll be able to make a tiered cake. Oh, I don't think I'll be. You'd be surprised what you're capable of doing. You will surprise yourself in this program at some point. But it really is one of those things where the first step is the hardest. Once you start mise en placing, you forget how hard the thing is that you're going to make. And then by the end, you're done. And you're like, wow, I just blew my own mind. This is the craziest. I didn't know I could do this. Something else to delete from your memory. This didn't turn out so great. I don't want to turn this in. You learn more from your failures than you do from your successes. And I actually have a story that I want to tell you about something that happened when I was in pastry school. Back when I was in pastry school, we were doing some sugar work, and I was learning how to make pulled taffy. It was like an extra project that I had asked for, and was using the recipe. You have to cook the sugar to a certain temperature. It's like sugar, water, and cornstarch all together. You cook it to a certain temperature, then you add cornstarch in and cook it, and then you pull it, and it turns into taffy. Put all the ingredients together, put the cornstarch in, it foamed up. It started to smell weird. It was bubbling like a cauldron. I was like, what is going on here? What happened? All right, well, no one saw it. Throw it away, clean up the mess. No harm, no foul. Let's try again. Maybe something happened. Did it again, same result. Bubbled up like crazy, smelled kind of weird. Wasn't turning out right. Finally, I'm frustrated. I called my chef instructor at the time. His name was Chef Kelly. Chef Kelly, what is happening? What am I doing wrong? What is going on here? And she was like, Ryan, you're putting baking soda in. This isn't cornstarch. This is baking soda. It's like, oh, well, yeah, I guess. So learned a valuable lesson that day. I was already like 3/4 of the way through the curriculum, had just kind of taken it for granted that, yeah, this looks like baking soda, or this looks like cornstarch, so that's what I'm going to use. And to this day, that happened 7-ish years ago. I check the labels on everything, even stuff that I buy that's in my own pantry while I'm working in my own kitchen. So it really is one of those things where if you make mistakes, if you burn a batch of cookies, if you screw something up, turn your work in. You will learn more from those assignments than you will from anything else. You do an assignment, it turns out perfect. You're like, oh, okay. Yeah, I kind of know how to make that. And then you forget about it. Your mistakes stick with you. So turn those in. You get feedback regardless. You know what I mean? And it is one of those things where this isn't Hell's Kitchen. We're not Gordon Ramsay. We're not going to tear into you because you made mistakes. We want you to learn. We're going to be critical, but we're going to be nice. You know what I mean? So it really is one of those things where turn your work in. Any assignment is better than no assignment. Amanda, you have your hand up? see. Can we get you to unmute? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I got a question.
Sure.
I'm kind of new to this right now. Where do I find the homework at? On the
So
website.
the orientation class page is at, I'm going to put it down in the chat. It's just at my.escoffier.edu. If you can get logged in there, all of our materials in orientation are at that webpage.
Okay, cause I'm all new to this, so that's why it's everything. And I just officially graduate from my high school, so that's why.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. So some common misconceptions for new students going into their first week. You're not going to be taking videos of your work. Every assignment that you turn in is going to be still photos. The reason being is when you're taking video, it's often kind of blurry and it's hard to make out what you're making. And we're not expecting you guys to have big, expensive video cameras to videotape yourself making this stuff. Most cell phones have cameras better than anything I could have imagined 20 years ago. So, when you're taking your photos with your smartphone, that's going to be the assignment. It's going to be still photos only. We're actually not allowed to take video, accept videos as an assignment. So it's going to be still photos only. In that same vein, you're not going to be cooking live on camera in your live sessions. Right now we have, let me see here in orientation, we have 62 students. This is actually a little bit larger than you're going to wind up seeing in your live sessions when you get started. But I would go cross-eyed trying to track all 62 of you guys trying to make chocolate chip cookies at the same time. It's impossible. You know what I mean? So it is one of those things where live sessions will work very similar to how we do them here in orientation, which is going to be your chef instructor talking about the techniques that you're going to be doing for the week, talking about the reading, talking about the knowledge checks, and then you guys asking questions so that everything can be squared away before you start your assignment. You are going to be demonstrating food preparation techniques. We are not looking for photos of finished work. We're looking for photos of you going step by step through a technique in order to show the demonstration of that technique. If you're ever concerned, like, am I going to, how do I know what photos chef wants? Every assignment comes with a preset list of required photos. Back when I used to teach those classes, I used to call them my recipe for an A. If you're turning in all of those required photos, you're going to be set up. You know what I mean? Because that really is that really is like showing those photos of the process is probably more important than the finished product. You know what I mean? You are going to be learning about plating, food pricing, professionalism. I had to stop listing stuff off because the list got too long. But it is one of those things that if you want to learn plating, if you want to learn piping, if you want to learn all those techniques, we will be covering that. For your first 6 weeks, you're probably not going to lose points for it. You're brand new. We're not expecting you to be like ace of cakes. That's a big ask. But you are going to be learning about that stuff throughout the program. And then down the line, you will be graded for it. So it really is one of those things that if you're concerned that you're not going to be learning about XYZ, don't worry, you will be. Mary, did you have a question?
Yes, I saw that like the first 6 weeks, for each week it says white plate.
Yes.
So we're plating everything on white dishes.
Yes. So generally speaking, from experience, we've been evaluating assignments for a while now. White plates, it's easier to see your work on a white background. So if you don't own white plates, don't feel like you need to go out and buy anything fancy. It's the color in the background makes your product easier to see. I've had students who, I only own red plates or I only own brown plates or something like that. They go out and buy like one white plate from the dollar store and that's their plating plate for the whole program. So it is one of those things where it's just the color in the background makes it easier to see.
Thank you.
No problem. So you're also going to have opportunities to network. Like we talked about, there's the discussion forums where you'll get a chance to chat with each other. There's also going to be live sessions repeatedly throughout the course of your time here. There's also something called the walk-in, which is sort of like a big discussion forum that you have with your class to sort of like exchange photos and chit chat and ask questions and talk to your chef. So you will have the opportunity to network with your classmates and with your chef instructors. Highly recommend that you take advantage of that. Because like any other industry, a lot of the culinary industry, a lot of the pastry industry is who you know. So know as many people as you can. You will receive constructive criticism. Like we've talked about, that's part of being a chef, is taking criticism. Gordon Ramsay even gets criticized. As I used to be a food critic, and we can be harsh. You guys don't have to worry about that. You know what I mean? It is one of those things where we want you to learn. We've been in your shoes. I was an Escoffier student way back in the day. Most of our chef instructors, actually, I think all of our chef instructors have been to culinary or pastry school at some point. It is one of those things that receiving criticism is part of the job, but don't be afraid that you're gonna click on your feedback and you're gonna come away feeling like you're awful. There's going to be a feedback video made for every one of your assignments that's between 90 seconds and 3 minutes long. It's just for you. It's just talking about your work. Highly recommend that you watch that at least once, if not several times, because it's going to be talking specifically about you and your work. A lot of information gets put out, even if, I got 100%. A lot of times the chef instructors are going to talk about advanced stuff that you'll be able to use in order to punch your already good chocolate chip cookies up to 11 and make them even better. You know what I mean? So it is one of those things where watch your feedback, even if you're like, well, you know what, maybe I don't have time. Make time to watch your feedback. It's the most important thing that you can have on your work. You know what I mean? I would make the argument that actually makes our digital classes a little bit better than our ground classes, because you get that feedback specifically for your work. So that's pretty much what you have to expect out of really any week that we have to offer, is preview on Monday and Tuesday, live session on Wednesday. Get your assignment in by Saturday or Sunday, depending on when you set your soft deadline. Make sure that you're doing your knowledge checks, participating in any discussion forums that you have. And then the next Monday, Tuesday, you start all over again. And if it sounds like you're sort of doing the same stuff every week, it's because you are. I call that the rhythm of being an Escoffier student. If you start to set that rhythm, if you start to set those habits early, Saturday will roll around, and if you haven't done your assignment, it'll feel weird. You'll be like, wait a minute, what haven't I done today? Oh, my assignment, I got to get started. You know what I mean? So set those habits early, and you'll be shocked. You'll say, wow, I'm graduating already. Brittany, you have your hand up. Sorry, Brittany, you're on mute.
I just wanted to know, when will the official class start?
The official first day of class is February the 17th. Let me double check to make sure. I want to make sure I'm telling you yes, February the 17th. Your first class page. So like you have an orientation page right now. You'll have a class page for PA 103. That will be available for preview the Monday before. So February 15th. You won't be able to turn anything in, but you'll be able to look around and preview the material.
Okay.
All right. Amanda, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was wondering, now with all the homework, can I go back and do all of those and turn those in, or not?
For once class starts?
No, when they assign homework like this, and then they assign some homework, would I be able to go back and redo those and then turn them in, or would I not get credit for those?
So you are able to resubmit work. That's one of the reasons why I recommend turning your work in early, like on Saturday, because if you get feedback and your grade isn't necessarily as good as you want it to be, you can turn it back in. Just make sure you let your chef instructor know that you're going to try again, and they'll know to look for your resubmission.
Okay, because I didn't know there was any homework, so that's why.
Here in orientation, you don't have to, you could turn in your practice assignment whenever you want. I would recommend that you get it in as soon as you can, just so you can get the experience in. And plus, the longer, this is a Chef Ryan thing in addition to just a universal thing, the longer you put something off, the less likely you are to do it. But like here in orientation, it's more for you to get to practice in than it is for a grade.
Okay, because I'm pretty busy at home. I got a 13-year-old, so that's why it's kind of, I'm juggling right now, so that's why.
Gotcha. Okay. Kennedy, you have your hand up. Sorry, Kennedy, I see that you're not on mute, but I can't really hear you. Are you able to access the chat? If you could ask your question in the chat, I'll be able to answer it that way. Angelica, you have your hand up.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I don't know. I believe that you already went through this, but you said that there was going to be a chat room for us and our classmates to be able to speak to one another.
So it's not really a chat room, it's more of a forum, but yeah, it's called the walk-in. It's where you guys will get to talk to each other, but it's not a chat room like we have here in Zoom. It's you post stuff and people reply to you.
Oh, okay. Okay. And did you say that our classes are going to get smaller when we actually start on the 17th?
Yeah, so right now we have one orientation class for everybody. You guys will probably break into like 5 or 6 smaller classes when you get started, yeah.
And one more question. I don't know if this was asked in the last Zoom meeting, but what's the graduation process? So like once we finish all the classes and everything, like do we get a certificate mailed in or?
So it's all right. If we rewind the clock before 2020, you have a couple of options in terms of graduation. We do an in-person graduation that happens in Boulder, Colorado. It sort of like walks hand in hand with our ground school.
Yeah.
Obviously, for the last year, we haven't been doing that. It's a 15-month program. Hopefully, by the time you guys graduate, we'll be back to that. But even if it's not, we do a virtual ceremony. I actually got to be part of the panel that did the virtual ceremony this past year, which was incredibly nice. However, if you're also like, well, I don't know, I live in Alaska and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it to Boulder, you don't have to show up to Boulder to get your certificate. Obviously, we will mail it out to you.
Okay. And then one last question. Is there like a certain uniform that you actually have to wear underneath your coat?
Under the coat, no. We have a jacket as long pants and closed-toed shoes, and then there's a cap that we send that we want you to wear.
Yeah.
But like the shirt that you wear under your jacket, that's up to you. I recommend white because a lot of times that's what they'll ask out in the industry is to wear white under your jacket, but that's not a requirement here.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Whitney, you have your hand up.
Hi, can you hear me?
I sure can.
Okay, I don't know if you went over this question, but will all your assignments, or will we have to turn in each assignment on the weekend every week it's due?
So you don't have to turn it in on the weekend. The deadline is Tuesday at 11:59. So if something comes up and you have to turn it in on a Monday or Tuesday, that's fine.
Okay.
But with rare exceptions, the deadline is always going to be Tuesday at 11:59 Central. But you can let's say you wanted to turn it in on Friday and you wanted to be really early. That's fine also.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I was in and out when I was being discussed dealing with my daughters. I just wanted to make sure. I actually work at a hospital 12 hours on the weekend. So if I could turn it in earlier, I'd rather do that.
Yeah, no chef instructor here is going to complain if you turn it in earlier than the
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. Joshua, you have your hand up.
Yes. So you mentioned the kits that they would mail to us a couple different times. Do you know what the time frame is on those?
So in a perfect world, the kits will arrive a couple of days before we get started. So probably around like the 14th or the 15th. However, we don't control the mail. So if they don't get to you on time, the first couple of weeks worth of assignments are designed in such a way that you can complete them without the kit. So it is we have a temporary dress code for folks who don't have a chef jacket in the whole 9 yards. So like I said, ideally it'll get there in time and you can start your first week on time. But if it doesn't and your first week started, don't waste time waiting by the mailbox. Start your week in the normal schedule. And then when your kit comes, you'll be set up and ready to go.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Elise, you have your hand up.
Yes, I am currently pregnant and I'm due in June. I know that each student gets a leave of absence. So how does that work? Do we just pick up where we left off when we come back, or?
So for leave of absence stuff, when you get started in February, you're going to be shown, there's a contact information for, a team that we have that we offer to all students called the Success Team. You're going to want to reach out to them, let them know what your sort of like your plans are and everything like that. And they'll walk you through what that process will look like and how it will go. Because it varies from student to student. I don't want to tell you what I've heard in the past because that might be different than what you experience. The success coaches will be able to give you a much more specific description of what you have to expect.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. I think I saw, yeah, there we go. For anybody who would like to share work with me and Chef Monique and anyone else on the orientation team, send it our way. You can send it to orientation@escoffier.edu. That's, you know, it doesn't have to be stuff that you made for orientation. It could be stuff that you've made in the past. Send it our way. We love seeing student work. So absolutely send us whatever you feel like sharing. It's absolutely fantastic. Tamika, you have your hand up.
Yes. What about if someone is on vacation? Like, what is the procedure for that?
So sort of the same deal as, you know, with medical issues or anything like that. Let your chef instructor know when you have, like, obviously if it's a vacation, it's not spur of the moment, you've been making plans for a while. Let your chef instructor know and let the success team know. That way they'll be able to walk you through a plan that you could put in place so you're still submitting and you're not like missing assignments. You're not, you know, sort of like taking zeros. We want to make sure that you're still submitting work, even if you're away, if that makes sense. So let your chef instructor and your success team know.
Okay.
There is a question in the chat. Do we have more than one assignment per week? That's a fantastic question. So when you're talking about practicals, you're only going to be submitting one assignment per week. However, sometimes each assignment is going to have more than one component. So let's say, for example, if you're working on the creaming method is one method, but you might be turning in multiple types of cookies. So that is one of the things where every time you're doing an assignment, it's going to get discussed by your chef instructor at the live session, and they'll go over all the components that we're asking you to turn in. So that was an excellent question, Paula. Thank you. Angelica, you have your hand up.
Yeah, sorry again. So the internship that that we would be getting help with, do they just help us with places in our area? Okay.
So yes and no. So let's say that's what you're interested in for your externship. If you talk to our career services department, they'll show you what's in your area. They're not going to get the job for you. Like, you still have to go and apply and talk to the, you know, the hiring manager and all that stuff. But if you're new to an area or you're just not sure what is even available, talk to career services. They have a huge network. They'll be able to help you out.
Okay.
But we've also, not necessarily for Angelica, but for anybody who might be listening, if you're interested in an externship and you have to travel, we've had students that wanted to do an externship in Paris, that wanted to do an externship in London, that wanted to do an externship somewhere else in the United States, that wanted to do an externship wherever. Let career services know. They've done that sort of thing in the past. And while I don't want to guarantee anything, they are absolutely fantastic at their job, and they'll be able to help you out as much as they can. Mackenzie, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I have a question about the externship. I actually work in a bakery, and would I be able to use my job as my externship, or I have to go somewhere else?
So chances are, yes. We're actually going to have a presentation from our career services department next week, where they're going to be talking in detail about the externship. I don't want to give you a hard yes, because career services are the folks that are going to give you the final yes or no. If you're working in a bakery and you're doing bakery work, that's probably going to be fine. But you want to check with career services to get the final yay or nay.
Okay, because like I do all the cupcakes, like that's my job, is I do like decorate and do all that. So I was wondering if that would still like count as like my time needed.
So it's the time. So the time for the externship has to be done during the 6 weeks of your externship class, which happens at the end of your curriculum year. So you can't start accumulating externship hours like tomorrow. But if you're still working at that bakery when your externship class rolls around, you're probably going to be fine, but you're also going to want to check with that career services to be sure.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Nicole, you have your hand up. Sorry, Nicole, you're on mute. There you go.
Yeah. Yes. Now, do I have to have a laptop or computer
Yes.
to be on here to get on?
A laptop or computer will be necessary in order to be able to complete the program. I try to set you guys up as much for success as I can, and in my experience, the most successful students start off with a laptop or a computer. If you're struggling to finance a computer, talk to our financial aid folks, find out what options you have available to you. 99 times out of 100, they're able to help you guys out, but you have to give them a call, let them know.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Lisa, you have your hand up.
So, we buy a different type of butter. I have children that are allergic to dairy and soy. So I use like almond milk and dairy and soy-free butter and stuff. Would that, would I have to buy different stuff, or would that stuff work for what all the assignments?
It should be okay. It really will depend. My recommendation for this or any other dietary restrictions, talk to your chef instructor, find out what they will and won't accept. 99 times out of 100, it will be fine. If it's not, they'll be able to give you some kind of an alternative, but you know, they'll give you the final say.
Okay.
Melissa, you have your hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to like kind of verify, and you probably have already said it, but at the end of the class, we're going to turn around and internship with like a company. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, so there's the last class that you take here is called externship. I'll be 100% honest, I don't know why they call it externship. I'm used to hearing it called internship. It's basically the same thing, where you'll be going out into the industry to do 6 weeks worth of work to demonstrate the skills that you've learned while you're here. Put some thought to where you might be interested in your career getting off after you graduate from pastry school, because a lot of times students who graduate from here, their externship turns into their first job. So like it's a lot of students when I was going through put externship off until externship happened, and then there's a lot of panic and a lot of scrambling around.
How long are the days for like externship? Like what could you expect schedule wise?
That will really sort of depend on what your expectations are. They have, I believe it's 120 hours a week. No, 120 hours a week is an insane amount. 120 hours total. Okay. I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. They will be covering the amount of hours next week in the presentation. But we try to be as flexible as we can be. So the hours that you work are really sort of up to you. I've had students who work the bare minimum of like 30 hours a week. I've had students who work an insane work week of like 75 hours a week. They get it killed off in like a week and a half. So it really, it sort of depends on what your needs and requirements are.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Marie, you have your hand up. Sorry, Marie, you're on mute.
Hi.
Hi.
For the internship, I live in Brooklyn. Do they have any area in Brooklyn for the internship?
Oh, as I can almost guarantee you'll be able to extern in Brooklyn. There's a ton of places out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that for the financial aid, they have like the computer thing they're offering, but you have to give like a $25 deposit. I done that already. Do you know that when exactly they will send it to you?
Typically, once your paperwork is processed, it takes about 7 to 10 days for it to come out to you.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Whitney, I saw you had your hand up, but then it went down. Did we answer your question?
Yes, I was actually trying to get the date of when the computer would come out with financial aid, because I did the same thing. So yes,
Okay,
you
cool.
answered it. Thanks.
Okay, cool. Tamika, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I actually, when I came in, I mentioned that I had a few questions. They were actually about the student shopping list.
Okay.
There's some items on there that I feel like I already own. But there's some items I was a little, I had a little trouble finding, like the stainless steel bowls of various sizes. Really hard to find a 2-cup bowl. And when I Googled it,
I'm glad you asked.
Okay.
So those stainless steel bowls are a suggestion rather than a requirement. That's why I say it's like a preview. If you have bowls that work in your kitchen that you're comfortable baking in, those will work. You're not going to lose points for not having the specific bowl that the shopping list asks for.
Okay.
We have had students in the past who are trying to bake and they don't own any bowls. So now there are bowls on the shopping list. You know what I mean? So it's generally speaking, the shopping list, if you don't have a specific item, but you have something similar, that will work.
Okay. So my other question, Josiah, turn that down.
Go right ahead.
my other question was next to the item on the list. Oh, I don't. Oh, you can't see it. Next to the item on the list, it says 2 cup, and in parentheses it has a 3 next to it, and then there's like 1 quart, a 3 next to that. Is that how many of each bowl we should have?
That's the idea, but
Okay.
from experience, you don't need that many bowls. That winds up being like 17 bowls. That's so many bowls.
I have a lot, so I just want to make sure.
Again, you've been baking in your kitchen longer than I have. You know what works for your space. The idea though is just to have bowls available so that you'll be able to work comfortably without having to stop and rewash your other bowl every 10 minutes. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay, and then portion scoop. I have scoops that I use in all of my bins with my sugar, my flour, things like that. Is that the portion scoop? It's
So
like
portion
a
scoops,
stainless steel scoop.
it's what they talk about more often than not when they're talking about portion scoops are dishers. So what we're talking about is something like this, where you're going to be able to scoop. Okay, yeah, that's like for scooping cookies to make sure that they're uniform.
Okay. Cooling rack. Okay, so I have a ton of cooling racks, but I don't know if they're 1.5 sheet size cooling rack.
Yours are going to be fine.
Okay. I think that was it. The Silpat, it has to be just a half mat. We don't need any other size, right? Like a
Well,
half sheet.
yeah, you want a Silpat that's going to fit with your cookie sheets. So
Right.
if you have one that fits your cookie sheets, you're good to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then there was also a related question in the chat. Do we need to have everything on the shopping list by the start of class? No, the answer is no. That's why it's a preview. We don't want you to be surprised by any equipment that we're going to be working with. So we give you a preview of everything that you're gonna be using. But like on your first day, if you're missing XYZ, you're gonna be fine. Like I said, we just don't want to surprise you guys. There was a question, where do we find the list? On the orientation class page, there's a subheader. It's order your chef jacket equipment preparation. The lists are all on that subheader. Nicole, you have your hand up.
My question was already answered about the shopping list, but I think I did want to know about do I need a mixer? Because I do not own a mixer, which I need to invest in one.
So like a stand mixer, you don't need one in order to be able to complete the program. Most, if not everything, could either be done with a hand mixer or just with the original mixers. However, I would recommend, because you're moving into the realm of being a professional baker, if you don't have a stand mixer, start saving your pennies, because it really is one of those things where there are jobs you can't take if you don't have a stand mixer, like home chef, home baking jobs. If you have a stand mixer, it opens a lot of the industry up for you. So my recommendation is to get your hands
Right, because I've been doing I've been doing a lot of baking. Like I've been baking a lot of cakes. I've been on the cake baking, making a lot of cakes for everyone. So that's my idea, is trying to, perfect my cakes, especially trying to design them the way I want to design them. So I know I need me an edible printer. I've been trying to give me an edible printer, so I can do edible images.
Gotcha,
and
okay.
A mixer, because a mixer. Yes.
Someone in the
I'll send
chat.
you some pictures of my cakes.
Someone in the chat mentioned Costco. I actually, I got a mixer from Costco for Christmas. That was a present that blew my mind, because my old mixer, I've had it for like 15 years now. Finally bought the farm. I have to take it to the shop to get it fixed. But the Costco ones, especially when they're on sale, are very affordable.
Okay. But thank you.
No problem. Constance, you have your hand up.
So my question's a little more simple. In uniform, I never wear a uniform. So just a ponytail for the hair? I know I have a lot of hair.
The idea is back away from your face.
That's
However,
Not
that's
up to
most comfortable is up to you. Some people do like the military bun. Some people do like a regular ponytail. Backing away from your face with your cap on, you'll be good to go.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. All right, so we have a little bit more time, but I don't mind ending early if I feel like I answered everybody's questions. I just want to make sure. All right, so Mackenzie's having trouble finding the list, so let me go ahead and share my screen. So we're here on the orientation class page. If we scroll down, we have order your chef jacket equipment preparation. equipment and ingredient preview is going to be this link right here. If you're looking for what you're getting in the kits, that's going to be this link right here, contents of the pastry toolkits. So I hope that helps out. We are going to be having some technique workshops tomorrow that are going to revolve around like assignment submission, that sort of thing. So check those out if you haven't had a chance to already. You know, if at the very least, you'll get more experience with Zoom. If you're new to this program, the more time you spend in Zoom, the more comfortable you get. We are also going to have more live sessions. Like I said, starting next week, Career Services is going to be coming out to chat with everybody. So come on out to that if you can make it. Other than that, Shakela, you have your hand up.
It's Shakila.
Oh, sorry, Shakila. Thank you for correcting me.
It's okay. So when we do the assignment, are we allowed to post on social media or like our final product, like
yeah, absolutely,
cookies or a cake or something?
So if you've completed your assignment and you've submitted it and it's done and turned in, the product is yours. If you want to take extra photos and put them on your Facebook page or your Instagram, absolutely you can. If you want to throw a hashtag Escoffier Proud on there, that's even better.
Okay.
And sorry, Tamika, I thought I saw you trying to ask a question. I wasn't sure, and I just wanted to check in with you to see.
I was going to ask a question. I don't know if you guys would be able to answer it. It was about my profile. When I went, I've gone through the whole orientation thing online already about 2-3 times just to make sure I didn't miss anything. But it still says I was only 80% finished. I thought that was kind of interesting.
I'm glad you asked. So that how much percent finished is less important than if you've completed everything on the orientation checklist. The reason I say that is because that finished percentage will fluctuate every time we have a new live session. So let's say after tonight, you're at 100%. Next week, Monday, you'll be back down to 80 because we're having a new live session. So yeah, it's absolutely, don't let like that percentage complete is there as like a suggestion. It's not the be all end all. If you're not at 100%, but you have everything checked off, you're good to go. All right, so it's on the chef coats, I know they need to fit a certain way. I'm currently on a weight loss journey. I was going to ask how I would go around getting a different size later in the school year. So if you need to order a new chef jacket, either because it's gotten too small on you or because it's gotten too big on you, you can email our shipping department, shipping@escoffier.edu, and they will walk you through buying a new chef jacket. So that's absolutely an option. You don't have to suffer through one being too big or too small. But they will charge you for a second jacket, just so you're aware. Marie, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes. I always having like a hard time to know how to the assignment practice.
Okay.
I'm always having a hard time with that.
Okay. Have you had a chance to give our tech support folks a call?
No.
So my recommendation would be I believe that they're closing in like 7 minutes. So I don't want to ask you to call them tonight and then they don't answer. But tomorrow when you get some spare time, give our tech support folks a call. Their number is actually down here at the bottom of the class page. The reason I say that is because me and Chef Monique, we're chefs, we're food people, we're not computer people. So we don't want to waste your time. You call us and then we fumble around and try to figure it out. I mean, you're welcome to. Chef Monique does her absolute best, but my recommendation for assignment submission specifically is to call tech support. They're the people I call when my computer stops working. They're the best. Mark and Arter and those guys over there are absolutely fantastic. My recommendation to students, especially going into the first couple of weeks, is if you're trying to submit an assignment, the second you start to feel frustrated, call tech support. They'll be able to help you out.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. So thank you all for coming out this evening. I very much appreciate it. If you have any questions that didn't get answered, shoot them our way at orientation@escoffier.edu. If you have any baked goods you want to share with us, you can send it to the same place. But thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all later in the week.
All right, thank
care,
you.
y'all.
Good night.